Howdy folks, and welcome to Frostpunk, courtesy of 11-Bit Studios, the team behind the thoroughly miserable and fantastic This War of Mine. 11-Bit Studios have something of a reputation for making games that are so depressingly miserable that they just make you want to end it all, but they're very, very good games all the same, and Frostpunk is no exception. So, what's it all about?
We roam the still, cold world, no horizon in sight. The rulers of old, stripped of pride and glory. It feels as yesterday we were turning the wheels of progress, until the frost stopped it all, suddenly, without a warning. When tides had changed, they changed for all of us, no matter wealth or class. We've lost our world to snow, and with it, our last traces of humanity. We bid farewell to plenty, and for those who remained came the time to adapt. We decided to leave our homes and head north. We roamed for weeks, maybe months, leaving behind all the things we once believed had made us. It was hope pushed us forward, slowly, step by step. We knew the cost of our journey, and we paid the price 100 times. Finally, the time has come to build the last city on Earth.
I've heard Frostpunk described as a society survival simulator, and that's actually a pretty good description. We have abandoned frozen London and travelled north to the outpost of Frosthome, where we've heard that we might actually stand a decent chance of survival, but our expedition has gotten lost and separated along the way, and before reaching Frosthome, we found this abandoned generator. And this is where we're going to build our city. You should probably have a name for it. Welcome to Salt Mine number 1. I should be quite good at this. Okay, so first thing we're going to need, we're going to have to get this generator powered up. Temperatures are minus 20 degrees. Later on in the game, you're going to be looking back on the days when it was only minus 20 degrees. With fond, rose-tinted reminiscence, but for now, yeah. Well, nobody has any homes, and the only accommodation I can actually build right now are tents, and that's not going to do for long. We're going to have to start picking up some of the resources that are just handily left scattered around. There are some wood crates that we can break down for wood, there's some steel wreckage that we can salvage for steel, and there's piles of coal just lying around. The wood and the coal are going to be our priority, particularly the coal, because we need to get this generator up to provide a source of heat so that everybody doesn't freeze to death overnight. That would be bad. Then there would be nobody to dig the salt out of the salt mines. So, let's get some homes built. This is the temperature display. As you can see, it's bloody cold. Basic tents, which is all I'm actually capable of making for my survivors at the moment, only have a base heating level of 1. But it'll at least stop everybody from freezing to death overnight. So we're going to go ahead and get ourselves some basic accommodation made. because I really don't want anybody falling ill from the cold, because at the moment I've got absolutely no way of treating any cold related injuries. Plus, I can't be putting up with all their complaining. So, we're going to pitch some tents around the generator. I haven't actually turned the generator on just yet. I'm still stockpiling coal. At the moment, we're okay. Nobody's fallen ill. And it gets colder at night and people stop working and come back to the tents. And I want to make sure that they're all nice and toasty warm, ready for a shift in the salt mines the following day. Of course, I'm going to have to feed them because we have a very limited supply of rations that we brought with us. So I've constructed a hunter's tent. They're basically going to go out and hunt out beyond the rims of the crater wall. Then, of course, that's only going to bring in raw food. I'm going to have to actually turn that raw food into rations, and that's going to require a cookhouse. Night has fallen. Everybody's returning from their places of work where they've been gathering resources, and they're shacking up for the night in the tents that I have very generously provided for them. All nice and toasty warm. Now, of course, this is where you start running into your first real issue. I only have 80 survivors. If I decide that I want to employ a bunch of them as hunters to go out and gather raw food supplies, that's going to reduce the number of survivors that are available to do other things, like building coal mines, sawmills, gathering resources. Now, I've opened the book of laws here, and there are a bunch of things that you can do to enact new laws to make things a little bit easier, or sometimes more difficult for yourself. Food additives, for example. I can add sawdust to the food supplies to pad them out a bit and make them last a bit longer, but people really aren't going to like that much. Alternatively, instead of giving them proper meals, I could just feed them soup. Again, they're not going to like that so much, but it's going to at least stretch my rations out a little further. When they do inevitably start suffering from frostbite, I can start cutting their arms and legs off. Seems a bit harsh, but the alternative is to just, well, keep looking after them forever, or until they die, whichever comes first, which is a huge drain on your resources. Another way of solving your labour problem is to put the children to work in the salt mines. Now, I'm all in favour of this, but the alternative to that is to put the children into shelters during the day when the adults are out doing proper work. This does mean that they're going to be nothing more than a drain on your resources, but further on down the line, let's just say I've got plans for them. Also, enacting the child shelter law stops my having to listen to their parents whining about their precious little angels breaking their fingernails in the salt mines. Of course, before I can actually do that, I have to construct a child shelter, and I don't actually have enough resources for that at the moment. So, yeah, we'll get there. So I'm just waiting the night out so I can put all these little ingrates back to work, where they belong. Oh, somebody's gotten ill, but it's not serious. Of course, I haven't actually built any medical treatment centres yet, so they're going to stay sick until I do something about it. And sick people just lie around in bed all day. We can't be having any of that. Alright. Bad news. One of the resource piles has been exhausted. Good news, that's freed up the workers to go to work in the hunter's hut and bring in raw food. And having a source of raw food supplies is good, but you're going to have to build a cookhouse to convert the raw food supplies into rations that your people are actually going to eat. When did people get so fussy? One important little game mechanic that you're probably going to become aware of very, very soon when you start playing Frostpunk is that buildings will not become active unless they're actually connected to the generator hub by a road network. Because reasons. So I'm just waiting for this cookhouse to be complete so I can assign some workers to it and start turning those raw food supplies brought in by the hunters into rations that these ungrateful little shits are actually going to eat. And now that we've managed to secure a supply of food, warmth and shelter, it's time to go back and do something about all of the losers who weren't strong enough to make it this far. Our convoy got separated and split up on the journey north to Frosthome. So we're going to have to send people back to find them and bring them to safety. Now, this is going to have a number of positive effects. Hope is going to rise, And discontent is going to fall, because some of those people left behind are actually family members of the people that made it here. Plus, I'm going to need more warm bodies to put to work, because 80 people just isn't enough. In order to get those people back to the colony, we're going to have to send out scout teams to guide them back, and to make sure that the scout teams don't get lost, we're going to have to launch a beacon to guide them back. And we're going to have to research a beacon, and in order to do that, we're going to have to build a workshop and staff it with engineers. And there it is. Oh, I can pass a new law. You remember I said I had plans for those grubby little ingrate children? We're going to put them to work as apprentices. Oh, sorry, did I say put them to work? No, I meant we're going to educate them. We're going to give them vocational training. And you can train the children as either medical or engineering apprentices. We're going to go for medical apprentices. This means that they're going to assist and take some of the strain away from the adults providing care for the sick and injured in our medical facilities, which I haven't actually built yet, but we're going to fix that. First, we're going to build that children's shelter so that the scabby little urchins in the shelter can be taught to actually do something useful instead of just consuming food and complaining. Your survivors are very anxious that you do something about reuniting them with their loved ones from the lost convoy, and they will not stop complaining about it. Yes, your family's been torn apart. Shut up and get back to work. I don't know, some people are just never happy unless they've got something to complain about. You've got food, you've got shelter, you've got warmth, your kids are being educated. Oh no, I miss my babies. Oh, fine, right, okay, whatever. Let's get that beacon up. Beacon built. Right, let's see it then. And there it is. The finest of Victorian steampunk technology. A hot air balloon. I guess it'll do. And with the beacon launched, we spot something in the distance. Aha! Survivors from the convoy, and something else. Well, there's the lost expedition. There's a gloomy cave over there. No, I need those survivors. I'm running out of warm bodies. In fact, I've got so few spare people at the moment, I can't even spare 5 people to go out on a scouting expedition to guide the survivors back in. So I'm going to have to take people away from doing something very, very important in order to send out a scouting team. It's going to hit me hard in the short term, but it's going to be worth it in the long term, because I'll be bringing fresh people into the colony. And I don't know if you noticed, but yes, it got bloody cold last night, minus 40 degrees. Now it's warmed up slightly during the day, but it's still 10 degrees lower than it was when I got here, so yeah. If that's a sign of things to come, I don't think a bunch of tents are really going to cut it. Let's have a look. Yep, things are getting quite cold. I can turn heaters on inside the workplaces. It's important to keep the temperatures in the workplaces and the homes at least habitable, otherwise people are going to start to get sick, and sick people can't work for a living. Of course, turning the heaters on increases my coal consumption. And the coal that I'm just scavenging, lying around on the surface, isn't going to last forever. So, I've researched coal thumpers. What the hell's a coal thumper? Good question. I had no idea. A coal thumper is basically going to pump high pressure water into the ground, which is going to force coal to the surface. Or something. Science, I don't know. That's at least going to take care, hopefully, of my immediate coal deficit. But I'm still going to need more people to work these facilities. I've got a sawmill going over there, which is going to harvest all of those frozen trees. But they're not going to last forever either. I'm going to need longer term solutions. And the key to almost all of these longer term solutions is a larger workforce. So it's time to send some bold adventurers out to make contact with that lost expedition. Gloomy cave? No, lost expedition. I need more people. And it'll stop everybody complaining for half an hour. So, Scout Team number 1, sent to make contact with the lost expedition. Well, that was the plan. I might have gotten slightly sidetracked along the way when I spotted something shiny in the distance, but it was totally worth it. This is a marvel of steampunk engineering, and it will completely replace the workforce at any facility that you assign it to. Automatons are great. They don't care about working in sub-zero facilities, which means I don't need to turn the heaters on in the workplace and eat into my valuable coal stockpiles. Human workers tend to get a bit upset when you pull that kind of stunt on them. The dirty little ingrates. So I'm putting the automaton to work in my newly constructed wall drill, because all these frozen trees aren't going to last forever. So we're drilling into the ice wall around the settlement to unearth frozen lumber piles. It's effectively an inexhaustible supply of wood, which allows us to take the workers from that facility and put them to work somewhere where they're less likely to complain about sub-zero temperatures and having to eat rations stuffed with sawdust. And then, just when I'd gotten everybody used to the idea of staying here rather than continuing the search for the city of Winterhome, which is the reason why we're all up here in the cold frozen north in the first place, this happened. A survivor from Winterhome, which is in ruins and has fallen to the cold. He just had to survive long enough to drop dead on our doorstep after delivering the bad news that we're all alone in the world. He couldn't have done the decent thing and died along the way. Well, fantastic. Needless to say, this makes everybody very, very upset. Hope falls and discontent rises. Needless to say, this is seriously going to affect salt mine production. Right, Winterhome has fallen. I need to give everybody a purpose. And this is where you get to choose your path. You can either go down the path of faith and spirituality, but ancient religions and hokey weapons are no match for a good blaster by your side, kid. Or you can go down the path of order and discipline. And I like the sound of that. The first thing we're going to do is enact a new law and institute a neighbourhood watch. Let's get everybody watching everybody else, keeping people in their place. To do this, we're going to have to build 2 neighbourhood watchtowers. The trick, of course, is making sure that the neighbourhood watchtowers actually cover the neighbourhoods, so build them near the tent cities. Hello, what's this? Some snot-nosed brat's been found avoiding work by crying after the body of his dead mother in the cemetery? I'm not standing for that. Man up, kid, back to work. I don't have time to sit around here listening to your whining, snivelling and complaining. I have to give these people hope and a reason to continue. What? You'd have done the same. Strangely, my firm and compassionate leadership style doesn't exactly resonate with several of our inhabitants who have decided that they'd much rather turn around, pack their bags and go home. Home in this case means London, 1,600 miles away, buried under several hundred feet of snow and ice. Really? Yeah, really. My initial response to the threat of society's collapse posed by these 13 lunatics was, do it. See if I care. Unfortunately, well, it's not quite that simple. They would be setting a bad example after all. From this point on, the Londoners are going to be agitating to try to convince more people to abandon the colony and head back south with them. And you've got 15 days to raise hope to sufficient levels and lower discontent to sufficient levels that the Londoners don't disappear with the majority of your workforce. This is not going to be easy. I know, surprising. I mean, what's not to like about me? But, well, you know, there it is. Now, these Londoners' chief bone of contention, that we're all going to die if we stay up here, isn't helped by the fact that things are going to start getting a lot colder. At the moment, I'm enjoying balmy summer temperatures during the day of minus 30 degrees below. Let's fast forward just one day. It's been 30 degrees below during the night, but it's okay. The sun is coming up with the promise of warmer temperatures.
Brace yourselves. Cold is coming.
Well, shit. Minus 40 degrees during the day. There is a promise of slightly warmer weather ahead, but there's more cold weather coming in behind that. And every time the temperature goes up 1 level, it usually drops by 2 or 3 shortly afterwards. I've upgraded the tents that we started with, which have a base heating level of 1, to bunkhouses which have a bit more insulation and a base heating level of 2. But, well, if things continue in this pattern, even that's not going to be good enough for too much longer. And of course, the Londoners are always happy to capitalise on our misfortunes. They've now managed to recruit 19 malcontents to their cause. Before too long, there are 24 of them wanting to up sticks and leave. And then 37. I'm beginning to detect a pattern emerging here. You'd almost think they weren't happy with my compassionate leadership style. We're going to have to start cracking down even harder. Neighbourhood watch stations are all well and good, but we're going to take things one step further. And we are going to institute guard stations. Got to build them first, of course, but once you've got guard stations, you can send the guards out on patrols, which will lower discontent in the area affected by the guard station. Guards can also be useful in apprehending thieves who try to steal your food supplies. The cheeky little buggers. Now this is a good step in the right direction, but it's only a step. The Londoners now have 60 sympathisers. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build propaganda centres to tell everybody just how awesome I am and how they're all much better off staying here. And with Radio Jingles singing my praises 24 hours a day, things were starting to look up. And then it got really cold. That's minus 60 degrees in daytime. It's not that I don't think the propaganda centre and the neighbourhood watchtowers and the guard towers and the patrols were doing a good job. It's just that I don't really think the message was getting through over the noise of everybody's teeth chattering. You see, this is the thing about Frostpunk. You're in a constant battle with your society just teetering on the edge of collapse. Pretty much constantly. Struggling to try to unlock and research new technologies and construct new facilities that will allow you to keep the temperature up without draining your coal supply and forcing the generator to shut down, which can have disastrous consequences. At the moment my coal situation isn't actually that bad, although it could be a lot better. My scouting team's located an abandoned coal mine, and I established an outpost there which is sending a steady stream of coal back to the city every day. However, one thing I am not short of, in fact one thing that I don't have enough storage space for at the moment, is wood. Now I can't use the wood as fuel in the generator, it doesn't burn hot enough, but I can research and unlock a technology to construct charcoal burners which turn the wood into charcoal, and I can use that in the generator as a fuel source. And since I have so much wood, it seems like the logical thing to do. Meanwhile, my propaganda centre is about to come online, so let's get it staffed up and tell everybody just how awesome I am and how lucky they are to have me. Let's just issue an official communique to that effect, and ooh, look at that. Hope just rose and discontent fell. And for the first time since the news reached us of the fall of Frosthome, the Londoners are having a hard time convincing people to join their ill-fated expedition. Things are finally looking up. And then, as if the news of just what an awesome leader I was some kind of omen, the very next morning the temperatures rose. And then a day later they plummeted all the way back down to minus 60 below again. Shit. Eventually, through the cunning application of just enough carrot to soften the blow of liberal amounts of stick, including but not limited to rounding up and imprisoning anybody who dared to disagree with me, I'd managed to all but eliminate discontent and raise hope to such high levels that there were only 38 of these treacherous good-for-nothing quitters left. And then the day arrived when they made good on their promise to up sticks and leave. I could have ordered the guards to stop them, but nobody likes a quitter. Go on, sod off. Nobody here likes you anyway. So, all's well that ends well. Problem solved. Yeah, not quite. Now, I don't want anybody to think that I'm admitting to any kind of fault here, because, you know, I couldn't possibly be wrong, but they may have had a tiny little bit of a point. The prevailing weather conditions have been steadily declining. We're currently enjoying a nice temperate summer climate of minus 50 degrees below during the day. But the barometer is falling, and it's falling steadily, and the reason for that is that there's a dirty great big cold storm up to the north, and it's coming this way. How do you know this, Jingles? Oh, the refugees told us. What refugees are those? All the ones running south, trying to get away from it. And I'd like to help them out, but I just don't have the housing to take them all in, so on your bike, Jack. Keep heading south, and if you see the Londoners, give them my regards. Now, this seems like a perfectly reasonable response to me, but wouldn't you know it, not everybody feels the same way, and the sight of streams of refugees heading south to their inevitable doom seems to be upsetting people. So I send the guard stations out into the streets to crack a few skulls and restore order. Once again, discontent is under control. But there are a lot more refugees heading south, and I have to admit I'm kind of curious to see this so-called storm that's got them all afluster. I mean, seriously, how bad can it be? I mean, seriously people, it's just a spot of bad weather. We're dealing with temperatures 70 degrees below. I mean, it's nothing to lose your head over. Why is everybody losing their heads? Holy shit. Look at that bastard. Yeah, okay. Maybe it is worse than I thought. We're going to need to get ready. Luckily, having played through Frostpunk once already, I had some idea of what to expect, and I've already started stockpiling food. But that's only the beginning of my problems. Keeping everyone fed with rations through the storm is just one problem. You also have to stop them all from freezing to death, which they are wont to do if the generator shuts down. So that means I'm also going to need a lot of coal. The temperatures are going to get so low in this storm that I'm not going to be able to send people to work in the coal mines to mine the coal that I need to stop them all from freezing to death. Well, I can, but they'll all die. Now that's a price that I'm willing to pay. But I thought that on this, my second playthrough, I'd try for a more elegant solution. I've got plenty of wood, and I've turned all of that into coal using the charcoal burners. Well, that's going to depend on how long the storm's going to last and just how low the temperatures are going to get. And there's only one way to find out. Here it comes. Any day now. 70 degrees below, the storm's about to hit. People are getting understandably nervous, so let's round a few up and throw them into prison, where it is nice and warm, to convince them of the errors of their ways and get discontent under control. And the storm has hit. Oh crap. I had the generator on overdrive. I need to turn that off, or it's going to explode. That would be very, very bad. Okay, overdrive disengaged. Kinda bad timing. But I have plenty of food, and I have lots and lots of coal, and I can extend the usefulness of the coal supply by switching off everything that isn't absolutely essential. Food production facilities, it's just too cold. So I can turn off my hothouses, my industrial hothouses, my hunters' huts. Cookhouses I don't need, so I don't need to burn fuel keeping the cookhouses at a reasonable temperature. I have rations stockpiled. What I have failed to take into account, however, is that while at the moment I am actually producing more coal than I'm consuming, I'm producing that coal from burning wood in the charcoal burners. And I have a lot of charcoal burners, but I've only got one supply of wood. So I'm watching my wood supply run down and I'm thinking, don't care, it's not like I need the wood to build anything. And I don't need the wood to build anything, but I do need the wood to put into the charcoal burners to make coal to keep the generator running. Oops. So it was mildly distressing, to say the least, when for no good reason the generator suddenly decided, that's it, I'm done for the day, and shut itself down. And this is at the beginning of the storm, when it's only 90 degrees below. Well, shit. My sole source of wood at this point is the wall drill, it's called, in the crater rim. Now this is a kind of good news, bad news situation. The good news is that the wall drill is being run by my automaton, and the automaton doesn't care if the temperatures are, holy shit, minus 100 degrees centigrade. It's going to keep working. The bad news is it's my only source of wood, and it's not producing enough wood every day to keep the charcoal burners running. Even if the charcoal burners were running, and at the moment they're not because they're also freezing because the generator is off and I can't supply any heat to the charcoal burners to actually... oh god. Yeah, they're a bit upset. Send the guards out to crack some skulls. Oh no, discontent is off the scale. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Right. We're going to extend the working shifts. Stop complaining about the cold, you plebs. Get to work or it'll get a damn sight colder. Right, this isn't going to do. I'm going to have to take extra steps. Right, I've shut enough things down by now and forced enough people back to work at gunpoint that we now have a steady supply of wood and therefore coal coming in. And that's when temperatures dropped to 110 degrees below. Okay, let's get the generator back on. Right, that should do. It's a bit cold, but what's this? Apathy sets in. The emergency shift workers don't want to work. Do you plebs not understand what an emergency is? Guards, get them back to work. Turns out that in this weird and twisted version of reality, people don't actually like being forced into work at gunpoint. So now I have to do something about discontent. Right, let's send some guard patrols into the streets to crack some skulls. Propaganda centre. Remind everybody of how great I am and how grateful they should be to live here. And finally, let's round up some wrongdoers, throw them in prison. Bingo. Discontent has fallen to acceptable levels and hope has risen. We're nearly there. 120 degrees below. Oh great, the generator's shutting down. Okay, what to do? Right, what's this? People refuse to work. I don't think so, sunshine. We've been down this road before. Guards, sort them out. Right. Charcoal kiln. Emergency shifts in operation. Foreman's assigned to ensure there's no slacking. Let's get everybody back to work in the other charcoal kiln. Same deal there. The heating's on, but it's not making much difference with the generator off. The wall drill. Yep, let's assign a foreman to supervise the automaton. That's going to increase wood production by 40% for a day. And give the poor unfortunate bastards in the charcoal burners something to actually work with before they all keel over and start dying. As they are doing at the moment at quite an alarming rate. Actually, that gives me an idea. Perhaps we could start burning the bodies as fuel. I must bring that up at the next meeting of the Politburo. You know, if this keeps up, we're going to start running out of warm-bodied adults to work the charcoal burners. I'm really starting to regret passing those child labour laws earlier on in the game. The children could at least be doing something useful. But the end is in sight. We only have to hold on for a few more hours. At this point, it's doubtful whether or not anybody is still going to be alive to see the morning. I've still got no coal. The generator's powering down. Even the overdrive wasn't enough. Come on, there is some wood. But there's nobody alive in the charcoal burners to turn it into coal. Oh, come on, we're nearly there. What now, panic spreads? Gee, you think? I wonder why. Okay, we've got some coal coming in. Come on, come on, come on. Right. Oh, what's the problem now? Miracles happen. Wow! Really? Now? This is a guy that wanted to go out into the storm earlier to find his lost daughter, and he's come back and they're both alive. For how much longer? I don't know. Okay, I have to turn the generator on, or everybody's going to die. I'm not entirely sure how long I can keep running it on level 4 though. Level 3? It'll last a bit longer, but it's still going to run out of fuel. 3's going to have to do. Oh man, look at that. Oh god, now what's the problem? What's... You know what, I don't have time to deal with your shit. Panic spreads. Yeah, back to work. Come on, come on, come on. We're nearly there. We're so close I can taste it. Steam level 3 is not enough. I need to be running it on Steam level 4. The people are furious. You don't say. Really? Just a few more hours. Come on, we're nearly there. I'm going to push it to Steam level 4. It's going to completely exhaust my remaining fuel supplies, but all work has ceased. Okay. Come on. Come on. Come on. All hope has been lost. Wait. 150 degrees below. You have got to be fucking shitting me. And the generator's shutting down. Well, of course the generator's shutting down. I mean... Fuck. Wait! Have we done it? We've done it! And I only lost 100 citizens. You see? There was nothing to be worried about. I had it under control all along. And that, kids, is Frostpunk from the sadists at 11-Bit Studios, the makers of this war of mine. It is a fantastic game. Think you could do better? Difficult to see how you could really do much worse. But I have really enjoyed playing this game, and there's still different methods of tackling the problems presented by the game that I want to try. Building more than one workshop at the start of the game to get your research done much faster, as just one example. And I'm definitely going to continue tinkering at this game and trying to do better than that pitiful result. That's it for today, however. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're all having a great weekend, and hopefully I'm meeting a bunch of you at Tiger Day at the Tank Museum at Bovington, because that's where I am right now. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your weekend, take care, and I'll catch you next time.